I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe in all this craziness, man. Hey, ever since you commented on that woolly bugger picture I posted, I've been thinking about you and wanted to make sure I tried to show you how to get the basic gist of that bugger down. It's not really a woolly bugger per se because it doesn't have the hackled feather through the thing. I don't tie it with chenille. I tie it with olive marabou, or any color marabou actually, and lead eyes, and you can tie wire in, I guess, if you wanted to. I don't think you have to. And then the hook and olive thread. So it's a pretty simple little pattern. Gets the job done pretty well. I've been riding my bike over to the Sawyer Briggs canyon area and hiking down into the draw, and actually been catching a little browns and little rainbows on this thing. So it stays away from people too, which is nice. So anyway, I wanted to just share this with you and kind of walk you through how I tie this little monstrosity. So the hook I use it's not a normal streamer hook. It's kind of like a big nymph hook, maybe like something you'd use on like an egg. I forget the brand. I got a bunch of these a long time ago and I'm still working through them, but this is the biggest version. It's probably like a size 6, maybe a 4. I'm not really good with identifying the bigger hooks, so this one definitely feels bigger to me. So you get that on there. I use 6/0 thread for the most part. This is just olive to match the feathers, make the same color. You can also use like a red thread to give it a hot spot, or an orange thread to give it a hot spot. That would look kind of cool too, actually. But I've been keeping these pretty natural. I've been trying to suss out what the fishies want. Haven't quite figured out what's that like sweet spot color pattern yet, but this olive's a pretty good color choice for the most part in these waters around here. So I'm just going to get this puppy dog started. A couple wraps around the front, rip off the thread there. Okay. Now, as far as weight goes, this time of year, I'm tempted to put more weight on than I do. I probably should put more weight on than I do. But the only weight I use on this fly is actually chain eyes. These like chains that you get on like Venetian blinds. These are pretty good size. I think these are 4mm eyes. So I just get a whole string of them from Amazon and then cut them off 2 at a time as you need them. So I just cut a pair of those off right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. There you go, just 2 of them. And then you can come up here and get them started a little bit. Be careful with the thinner thread. The sharp edges on the eyes can cut the thread. So what I'm doing here is I'm diagonaling them this way, and then if you push it back a little bit and then diagonal it the other way, that's kind of like a nice cross thread pattern, and it kind of helps the eyes stay in place. A lot of guys do like what's called a figure 8 wrap. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing right now. I'll try to turn it sideways so you can see it. If I can do this, I've never tried to do this way. They kind of go over and under and over and under and over and under. You could do that, I guess. I mean, I'm sure it works just fine. They're going to move around a little bit. Oh, actually, that figure 8, it worked pretty well. It's not moving a whole lot at all. So now at this point, you got your eyes up the front. What's really cool about having the eyes up top like that is in the water, the theory is that when you cast it, the eyes flip upside down and the fly actually swims like this, which means the hook's up. I learned this trick from tying, there's a saltwater pattern called a gotcha, which is one of my favorite patterns to tie ever. And that's how I learned that trick about putting the eyes up top. So pretty fun. Any eyes will do. You can also use big eyes like this. These like the heavier kind of metal eyes, different colors. You can mess around with different colors, put some yellows and reds. But I've been keeping it simple for the most part. If you want to give it a little more weight, you know what? What the hell? I'm going to give it a little tiny bit more weight on this one. We'll see if that makes a difference in the water. I'm going to use some 0.15 lead-free wire, just a little bit, wrap it around. I should have put this on first, actually, but whatever. It's all good. I'm not going to put much on. The trick with these, the longer I fly fish, the more I realize on a freshwater rod, I really don't like casting heavy flies. It used to be that I loved chucking big, heavy streamers. because they sank really well, and that was important to me because it was getting down to where the fish are. I only put a little bit of weight on there, not much, but I covered up with the thread a little bit. And I tied big, heavy streamers, and for whatever reason, I thought that was important. And the older I get, the more I hate casting those big, heavy streamers. I'd rather cast a little tiny light thing. So this guy's a nice one. It's a streamer, but it doesn't sink as fast because it's not as heavy, but it casts much better. And I'll talk more about that when we're done. Okay, so now I wrapped back and forth a few times just to kind of get the thread base. You don't have to do too much of that, and you'll see why in a second. I'm going to grab the Marabou now, and I get my Marabou at Sportsman's Warehouse. It's not the greatest Marabou. There's a feather I've already used. It's missing the chunk out of there. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to take this remaining Marabou here and rip it off the feather stalk. So now I've got this like loose bunch of Marabou. And what you're going to do, here's the fun part. Make sure your thread's back right about at the bend of the hook, actually past the bend. A little bit past the bend. Okay, you're going to grab that Marabou, give it a good little tail, not an obnoxious tail because you don't want the fish biting back here, but a little bit to give it some play in the water, and give it a couple passes of thread just to hold it in place. And then let this kind of just sit here for a second. We're going to deal with him momentarily. Then I'm going to wrap the thread forward up to behind the eyes. So now you've got this loose bit of Marabou here, which is great. Okay, I lied to you earlier. I said I only use Marabou, lead eyes, and the thread, and I'm a lying bastard because I actually also put a little bit of Flashabou in there. I don't know if you can see. It's some gold Flashabou. I'm going to take 2 threads, double it back to make it to make them twice as many and half as long. And then I've got these pieces now. They're about like 4 inches long. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, there you go. And here's a trick I learned recently from watching a guy on YouTube. Take them and bring them under the fly, and then grab them up top and capture them with the thread, which is kind of a fun way of making sure that oh, I just lost it. We're gonna try that. You know what? To hell with it. I'm just going to lay it on top and tie it in. It worked really well the last time I tried it. Oh, this hobby, it's so fun. So I'm just going to tie it back and forth a little bit. All you're doing with here is you're getting some of that flash in there to give the fly a little bit more pizzazz in the water. Maybe looking like a lateral line of a small fish, or maybe just getting the trout's attention. So you got these little stringies back here. They're kind of doing their thing. Okay, now here's where the Marabou comes in. This is why Marabou is one of my absolute favorite materials. Take that Marabou and spin it so it makes kind of a fat, ropey braid. And it's okay if it's messy. Marabou is going to be messy. And then pull that puppy dog and hackle it forward. Spiral it, palmer it, whatever you call it. Palmer it forward. If you drop it and it comes loose, not a problem. Not a problem at all. When you get up to the front, capture it with thread. It's okay if it's messy. I end up usually just pulling the entire works down into the eyes. It's okay if it's messy. You're going to deal with the messiness here in a minute anyway. So now you've got this fun little like nymphy damselfly baby looking body, which is actually, I bet you this by itself right here, I'm going to cut some of the little strands off, a little extra crap. I bet you this guy right here would probably catch fish out of the lakes in the summer when the damselflies are hatching. That's probably good enough right there, that bug. But we want to give it a little more life. So now you need one more feather, and this is the challenging part. I'm getting to the end of my Marabou bag. You want to find a Marabou feather for spinning. This one might work. So I pulled this one out. I don't know if you can see that right there. And you kind of want to go like this and make sure that's actually, yeah, this will probably work. You want to make sure, yeah, that's going to be good, I think. I'm going to pull off some of this dregs at the bottom. I just pulled a bunch of the dregs off. Save those. You can actually use those for the next tail. And you see, this is actually not a terrible feather. It's got some good barbs on either side. Now, for spinning it, what you want to do is you want to go up top and kind of comb them back like this. And you want to have a little bit at the top and then a whole lot at the bottom. And you want to tie in at the skinny part right there. And if you're really feeling particular, you can snip off that little bit here. That's not super crucial because, well, you'll see in a second. Okay, now comes the fun part. This is my absolute favorite part of spinning Marabou. You're going to take the end, and you're just going to start whipping it around. And as you whip it around, keep kind of following with whatever hand is not leading the feather, and keep the barbs fluffing out like a bunch of Liberty spikes almost. And sometimes, I'm going to do it right now actually, I get to a point where I want to have, where the hell's my hackle plier? I want to have, here it is, I want to actually put the tail end of this feather in my hackle pliers because it gets too hard to hold with my fat fingertips. So you can actually free up your hand that way. I don't know if you can see this, like a freaking lion's mane, which is exactly what you want it to look like. Then you want to capture that stem. Kind of, be messy. This is a messy task. I mean, it's a fun as hell tie. There. I got a couple good captures there, and I'm going to snip very carefully. Make sure you don't get your thread. I'm just going to get I got the tail end of the feather off. There's a couple random little stray barbs on that. We can get rid of that one. Now, I'm going to spin it so you can see it real quick. Oops, that's the wrong. There we go. You want something that looks kind of like that. I mean, this thing looks like a freaking alien coming at you with all these barbs, like a crazy olive lion, which is exactly what you want. I'm going to whip finish this puppy dog. You can kind of take your fingers and pull back those barbs. You want those barbs are eventually going to go in the water like that. So you want to get them as free as you can. I'm going to do a couple, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've lost track already. Passes around. Take my whip finish tool, and I'm going to carefully put my first, there we go, figure 8 in. I'm going to take these back again. You can also, with Marabou, if you wet your fingers a little bit and like kind of dampen the feathers, they'll behave a little bit more, kind of like wetting your hair. Well, I mean, I don't really comb my hair anymore. I've reached the age. A couple little turns. There you go. There we go. Looks good. That's like my 4th knot. I think I've got it. I think he's pretty solid. And then clip the thread, and my friends, you are ready. You are ready to fish that puppy dog. Yeah, this thing is great when it hits the water. So ideally, and it does do this for the most part. It hits the water, and those eyes go upside down. I suppose if you're in really stiff currents, you could put 2 sets of eyes to really get some extra weight there. And then the water really just takes those barbs, and I mean, watching this thing swim in the water is just a joy. These things just, they undulate like a sculpin or like a leech. Olive seems to be a really good pattern. Black works too, but olive is just kind of a go-to pattern. If you're feeling fancy, you can run a wire rib up there, but I don't think that's really super important. But that guy right there, I think that is going to be the ticket, and I look forward to the day, my brother, when you and I can hit the river and fish these together, because I'll tie a dozen of them for us, and we'll go out and hit it together. All right, you take care of your bad self, and I hope this was somewhat useful for you. We'll talk to you soon, brother.